Okay, so I'm still analyzing this article by the Alamosa Citizen, which is written by Owen Woods. Great article here, great article. You have the district attorney who is confronting the 3 county commissioners saying that your sheriff's office is fucked up. A lot of crazy shit's happening with the sheriff's office in Costilla County. They're losing drugs, they're losing guns, they're not able to keep a hold of the evidence to where the DA could actually make the convictions. So I've never worked with a police agency ever that has just lost firearms. Ann Kelly says that, she trusts all the police all throughout the world, local, state, and federal. Just trust the police officer. If you're a man with a uniform and a badge and a hat, she trusts you, but she doesn't trust the sheriff's office of the Costilla County. I've never worked at the police agency that just ever lost firearms. That is fucking remarkable. But if they're a bunch of criminal fucks, they're taking drugs, they're taking guns, they're giving it to their drug dealers, their fucking gangster buddies, and then their gangster buddies are selling it, and then they're making money off of the sales. I don't know, it's just allegations, but you tell me where the fucking drugs went. They went somewhere. The drugs existed, the guns existed, and where the fuck did they go? Where did they go? The explanation she received was that the weapons were under an armor vest in a corner somewhere. In a corner somewhere? Like, where was the AK-47? Well, it was under an armor vest. Where at? Up in Houston, up in Santa Monica, up in Minneapolis, up in my Trinidad Araguo friends in Minneapolis. Yeah, he had it hidden under his armor vest, I told him to put it off to the side. He couldn't find it, and it was under his armor vest somewhere. Firearms collected as evidence are said to have been lying throughout offices, on desks, and cabinets. Some firearms were not booked into evidence and were not put through a police-recognized tracking system. The sheriff's office told them that this is due to a lack of funding for an evidence room, to which Kelly noted everyone needs more funding and that a proper system for managing evidence is not insurmountable. They just got the penny tax. They got more money. And then to collect evidence, all you need is these motherfuckers have a house. They have a house. They got a closet. Just pick a shed. I'm sure the sheriff has a fucking house. Have a shed in the backyard with a fucking lock, and you keep an eye on it. You have it on 24 surveillance, 24. Have a surveillance camera on it the whole time, and you are the only person that has the key to the lock to the shed, and just put it all in that fucking shed, Well, we don't have the money. Yeah, you're lazy. You're fucking lazy, and you're corrupt, and you don't give a shit. You only care about protecting your little fucking tiny little people, your 5 friends, and you don't give a fuck about, your fave 5. You only care about your fave 5, and this county is only 3,500 people. So technically, all the politicians, the county commissioners, and the sheriff, and, the clerks, and the assessors, they could get to know all 3,500 people pretty easily. You can know, who the people are, what their business, their career, what they're about. And there's community policing is genius, because if you're just out on your beat and you go and you have a little cake over here and a little tea over there, you're out and about talking, just say that's a part of your police work. You get to just socialize, and you're basically doing a general investigation of everything. Have you seen anything weird, anything out of place? And by being out and about, you'll come across shit. By being out and about, you're right there, so if something happens, you could be dispatched quickly. And then by being out and about, by your presence most likely would stop people from committing crimes right then and there. And then by asking questions, that'll tip you off to different directions of where things are actually happening. She said her investigator, as well as locals and former sheriff's office employees, have said there are guns and evidence just lying around for anyone to collect and take. What? Yeah, they just leave the drugs and the guns just right there on the damn counter, right there in the jail. Just allow whatever jailhouse birds want to take the drugs and the guns. They just lay it lying around for anyone to collect and take. There's no secure evidence property room or management software, which is well below standards in the state and the nation. This is something that should have been in place a long time ago. Yeah, big time. Any kind of rudimentary way of organizing evidence should have just been put in place. She said has not been put in place. Absolutely. You can't prove your case. What was it that Training Day, Denzel Washington in Training Day, he says it's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove, And so you can't prove anything unless you have the evidence, the evidence, the fingerprints, the guns, this and that, but witnesses too. A witness, eyewitness testimony. If, let's say there's a shooting that happens, you could go around the neighborhood and get 5 people to just write down and if you actually got body cameras, you don't even have to get them to write it down. Sometimes, it might be hard for people to write stuff down or something, but with body cameras, you could go and canvass the neighborhood, ask a few witnesses, and get them on camera saying whatever the hell they saw. And then that way, you have what they testified on, August 12th, 2025 or whatever. You have what they said on the day it happened. If they later on changed their story, then you would say, well, how come you said this thing the day it happened? The day it happened is when it's most fresh, when it's most vivid. Over time, memory fades. But video is the eyes of God. So I think that would be best, actually. Instead of going around getting witness statements to get it in writing, you could just interview them with your body camera on, and just ask them this question and that question. Any kind of rudimentary way of organizing evidence should have been in place. She said it has not been in place. Currently, there is a homicide case pending in Costilla County. I learned that the sheriff's office lost physical evidence in a homicide. I have never heard of this. I have never experienced this. This is unprecedented. They just lost physical evidence in a homicide. I would like to think, out of all violent crimes that are out there, rape, stealing, arson, murder, human trafficking, that's up there, right? Human trafficking, homicide, isn't that one of the worst fucking things ever? And so if a homicide had happened and you gathered the evidence, how could you lose that evidence? You needed that evidence to make the conviction. You needed that evidence to find the lead in order to go after the person. I've noticed there's been 2 dead bodies that was found by that Catholic church in San Luis. And there's only 2 articles that was written about it. And somebody said something about Mondragon was actually captured. Okay, well, no articles are being written about it, so how the fuck is the public supposed to know any of this shit? But with the 2 bodies that was found by the church in San Luis, the Catholic church, they just said it was a dead body, and more information will come out later, and it never did. So we don't know who they are. We don't even know their fucking names. We don't know how they were lying. We don't even know what the fucking situation was. How could evidence for a homicide case just disappear? Physical evidence from a strangulation kit in a domestic violence case is simply gone. We don't know where it is. Then it turned up again. We were relieved, and then it went missing again. Physical evidence from a strangulation kit in a domestic violence case is simply gone. A strangulation kit. So they're saying that there is some sort of kit. I'm thinking that this is like they were able to study that it was a strangulation thing. So, yeah. That means there was evidence that pointed to strangulation, and then the evidence is gone. Because there's no system for evidence tracking, the DA's office had to tell the victim in the case, I'm sorry, I cannot ethically proceed with your case against your strangler. That's fucked up. We cannot proceed against your abuser because I don't have faith or trust in the evidence that we would use against this individual. Now, she didn't have to do that, As much as you want good evidence, you could just go, if it's the lady's word against the guy's word, or the guy versus the lady. I'm thinking it's a domestic situation, so husband and wife, right? You could just put the woman's word up against the man's word and see what a jury determines. Sometimes people just have tells dripping all over them, and you could tell that they're fucking lying, And so just put the word up against the other word without any, tangible evidence. Just have the eyewitness testimonies. Tell the person to write down what they saw so you could turn that into the court. The jury could look at what they had wrote down, and then to make sure that they, remember the events that had happened and to recall the events as best as they can, and then to get that on the record, to have them testify. And I think that would be a good way to try the case. Just because the fucking sheriff's office fucked up. We had evidence of strangulation, but it's gone now. Sorry, I can't press charges. You can't. You can press charges still. It's a harder case. It's more of a crapshoot. But you don't have faith or trust in the evidence that you would use. Okay, well, don't use that evidence, but you still got the witness, right? That lady is still alive, or that guy or whoever is still alive. Which means you have a witness, and that means you got an eyewitness testimony. and therefore you still got a case. People, I think people would trust the DA that was trying to get justice for a case and had, thin evidence. In night court, it didn't seem like they had evidence at all. They were just the accusation, and then the prosecutor and defense would say a couple words, and then that was it. So it seems like you should try to press the case, try to get a bench trial if you can. If not, hurry up and get 12 jurors. Photographs of injuries taken on a suspect that could have been used as exculpatory evidence are gone, she noted. Photographs of injuries taken on a suspect that could have been used as exculpatory evidence. So that means somebody was arrested that had injuries that they could have said, well, maybe they were actually the victim. Well, that went missing. Well, how fucking convenient. How fucking convenient. Colorado Peace Officer Standards and Training Compliance is in question, and Kelly's office is investigating compliance of training and training records. Post is a unit of the Criminal Justice Section. Agencies have to comply with the standards set by the agency. The citizens of Costilla County deserve better than this. DA gets citizen complaints all the time. 90% of the citizens that call my office are complaining about the sheriff's office in Costilla County. 90%. That's a big fucking percentage. You got 6 counties. She's in Alamosa. So why would she get, from a county that's got a population of 3,500? Why would 90% of all the calls are saying these fucking sheriff motherfuckers are corrupt, they're lazy, they're terrible, maybe even criminal? Follow-up and interviews with these complaints are taking place. What her office is finding out is that the cases are being neglected. That's the nicest thing you could say, is that they're neglectful. Cases aren't being followed up on, and reports aren't being given over. If they made a report, why wouldn't they pass the report over? These are your citizens, she told the commissioners. I hope you recognize that it is incredibly difficult for me to stand in front of you and tell you these things. I bet you that was difficult, and I'm glad she did. I'm glad she did. I think it's brilliant to do something like that, because somebody needs to speak up for the fucking people of Costilla County. Somebody needs to speak up for the people of Costilla County. If people are doing a bunch of dirty fucking criminal shit, it's because their lives are miserable. And if everybody had a piece of land, and everybody had their little house, and everybody had the food and the water that they need, if they had all their life necessities, decent transportation, decent health care, decent education, I don't think you would see all the craziness. I think land reform would be a brilliant idea. But if you're poor and destitute, and you see everybody coming into the county and they're just, living, it looks like they're just middle class, living high on the hog and shit, you might have a lot of resentment and jealousy, and you might think that petty fucking criminal behavior is the way to go about, resolving your differences. I think that they do need to work on making the lives of their 3,500, countrymen better. Under Sheriff Soto said budget requests for improved access to the Axon body cam system were denied by commissioners. The 4-year contract with Axon, according to Soto, would cost the county around $17,000 a year. Commissioner Romero apologized for that request's denial and said he didn't think the board understood the significance or magnitude of that situation. So that's, he's taking some accountability there. $17,000 is a pretty hefty little price ticket. And who the fuck is Axon? Well, I mean, I could set up a fucking system. You just want somebody to just have, just have a dedicated goddamn computer. Have, just buy 4 fucking cheap-ass computers, desktops. You can get pretty good desktop computers for like $250 now. So you could spend, $1,000, get 4 computers, have a big fucking hard drive, and then just make sure that the, body camera footage that was taken that day is downloaded onto the fucking computers. You don't need to have a contract with Axon. Soto agreed that the evidence room has been a mess. The sheriff's office has been without an evidence technician, and the jail administrator has taken up evidence duties. The office is also working with the Colorado Springs Police Department with evidence assist. Why are you talking to Colorado Springs? These motherfuckers, they go to all these seminars and they hang out with all these other fucking cops. The Colorado Springs cares about Colorado Springs. Hey, what's going on over here? Lot of movement, a lot of sound and shit. Here, let me help. Let me shut that door there. Carry on with this article. I think it's important because I don't know how, hopefully Alamosa Citizen stays up forever. But I've known, articles to be out and about, and then the website goes down forever. They lose money and they can't do what they do, and now it's lost forever. Soto said the missing firearms were the responsibility of a former evidence technician who he called disgruntled. Well, we had a disgruntled evidence technician. Oh, is that what it was? Disgruntled? Probably because fucking narcotics and guns are being fucking stolen either right under his nose or maybe he was a part of this shit or something. And then he's disgruntled. Do we believe that? Maybe Soto Cruz was just a fucking asshole to him. Like, hey, stupid. You're stupid, stupid. The evidence room has been a mess. So that's interesting. You know what? Our evidence room is a mess. The sheriff's office has been without an evidence technician. The jail administrator has taken up evidence duties. They're giving it to the jailers. Why can't the sheriff's office just take care of their own fucking evidence? I just told you how to do it. Buy 4 personal computers, desktop computers for $250, Walmart.com. And then, just take the damn memory card out of the fucking goddamn body camera and download it. Just take it, copy and paste for the day and download it, and just do that every day. Have, one person to be in charge of that and have the sheriff, the deputies themselves be responsible for it. That would be grounds to fire somebody. If I'm the sheriff and you arrested somebody and then we were supposed to spend all this money and shit and backing your word and backing what you said and then all of a sudden the evidence that you collected went missing, I would think that's another thing. If I'm the deputy that made the arrest, I would want to preserve the evidence as much as anybody. There should be a culture of, professionalism and integrity in the sheriff's department. A high turnover rate has left the department with 4 deputies, including Soto, to cover the entire county with full 24-hour coverage. 4 deputies, and then, they want to say, he says that the sheriff's office has been trying to achieve a clean slate. There's discussion on what a future evidence room would need. Ownership of the sheriff's office building put into question what grant funding might be available. So, maybe have better personalities. Quit being so abrasive, okay? You got the power and authority. Do we have to be your fucking buddy, too? You could be friendly. You could tell your little jokes here and there. You go for a beer after fucking working a full shift or some shit. But ultimately, what we need is good cops. Good cops who do their jobs right. Goes to the scene, collects the evidence, makes the necessary arrest, goes to court, testifies. What they saw. That's what we need, Maybe you're a good, a little jokester or something, a good storyteller. And if you are, then that would make your testimony in court that much better. He said the sheriff's office has been trying to achieve a clean slate. There was discussion on what a future evidence room would need. Ownership of the sheriff's office building put into question what grant funding might be available. Romero went on to say that the county is looking at severe budget cuts this year. The 1% sales tax passed in 22 has been tapped out due to inmate transportation costs to different counties. Come on, guys. What the fuck are you all talking about? They had a 1% sales tax, right? That was supposed to help them out. The sheriff was supposed to get all the fucking money that they needed. But now we drive our prisoners to another fucking county and we just don't have any more money, Get the fuck out of here. To drive to fucking Alamosa, and then if you're driving all the way to fucking, was it not Rio Grande or Saguache, but Archuleta? Are y'all driving all the way to fucking Archuleta County? Why would you, if anything, Alonzo Payne was doing something decent by keeping the jails empty. If people are violent criminals and they need to be dealt with, fucking deal with them quick, Keep them in the fucking Costilla County Jail. You got fucking, bars in that jail and you got keys to those bars. So just, shut the bars, lock the fucking thing, and then keep your fucking serial killer right there until he has to fucking go to trial right there in that because you're supposed to try wherever the crime happened. And then once you get the conviction, then he goes to fucking population in some supermax, somewhere else. So, their excuses are terrible. Romero wants to find a way to get an Axon body cam contract as soon as possible. If they got the $17,000, okay. He said he wants to find the best way to help the sheriff's office, but conceded that county offices are understaffed. And as a commission, they don't want to cut other offices' budgets to supplement the sheriff's office. Yeah, you got different departments. We understand that. We could throw money all we want, Romero said. I don't know if it's going to solve the problem. Throwing money at the situation helps. Throwing money at the situation helps, but you're going to need to have competency. You're going to need responsibility and competency and professionalism and integrity. You're going to have, good police officers. Soto said, I hate to say it this way, but you get what you pay for. And when we're not able to pay some of these deputies that stay here, good deputies, we get what we get. So are you trying to say that the 4 deputies are crap? Look, I take only $10,000. I'm a piece of crap because I get a little bit of money. If you pay me some more money, I'd be better. But since you pay me little, then I just don't do my damn job right, okay? How do we move on from here? Espinoza asked Soto. Soto replied, once again I say, we get what we pay for. If we're paying deputies, it just sounds like bullshit to me, frankly. This sounds like bullshit to me. I would be a great fucking police officer. I'd be one of the best goddamn police officers ever. I would make sure not only to go after the criminals, but I would also make sure I protect people's civil liberties. I'd be the only person that would, arrest somebody for stopping a peaceful assembly. Wait, you're breaking the First Amendment? You stop this peaceful assembly from happening? Well, then I'm arresting you. I understand probable cause. It's just that I've been a citizen, and I've always looked at things from a citizen's perspective, but it would be interesting to look at what they have to go through, We can't work 24/7. You kind of can. You can't. You got to sleep for 8 hours a day. Okay, I'll give you that. But have somebody doing night shift, right? And you can work 24/7. You can work your 8-hour shift, and then when you're out and about as a citizen, if you see some violent crime go down, I hope the fuck that you pull out your goddamn service weapon and make the arrest. Just because you're in normal people clothes doing some normal people shit doesn't mean that you're going to let some violent crimes happen. I'm killing myself working the shift that I have now. I'm killing myself working the shift I am now. Well, maybe he's become his work, not the shift he has, but the work. I am my shift. I am my work. Yes, you are. You absolutely are. The reason why we play police officers is because you're the one that goes out into danger. You're the one that takes the risk in order to catch the goddamn violent fucking criminals. And if you're not willing to do that, then get somebody else that will. I think they're overlooking a lot of good opportunities, and something does fucking stink. Something smells very fishy around here. They said they're going to try to get a good slate, and they're trying to turn things around, so I don't know what they're talking about there, but they're acknowledging that there's deficiencies. And then the guy's saying, well, we're not getting, the Axon system. We needed $17,000 for the Axon system. Where there's a will, there's a way. $17,000, that seems like I don't know how much money they got. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's not a lot. If it's not a lot, they should pay for it. If it is a lot, then you could do something else. He said the office needs better policies and procedures to reprimand deputies and a bigger budget to hire more deputies. Labor is expensive. To pay somebody $20,000, $30,000, that's a road that's not paved. That's whatever. That's like a school that's not built. So, labor is expensive. That's not just a police officer thing. That's across the board. He said the office, but that's sovereignty. The only way the Costilla County has any sovereignty is with its police officers. Or if they don't have enough police officers, you could do a posse comitatus. You could have citizen brigade. And, I bet you there'd be a lot of people that would be interested in a program like that. To essentially be basically junior officers that don't have a badge or a gun or anything else. What do they call those things? A violence stopper? I don't know. But you could have like a citizen brigade. You could have like the sheriff's, people. They do the fucking, they carry concealed weapons. So, you can make sure that they get a carried concealed weapon. They go to the classes that they see and just kind of pick 5, citizens in every part of the county to kind of be your eyes and ears. To be your eyes and ears for the whole county. I think there'd be people that in the county that want to do that, especially people that are good people that still maintain their, righteousness or their integrity, their Christianity, and they are sick of the crimes. They're sick of the criminals. I think that there'd be a lot of people that would do that for free. They would just do that just to make the community a better place. The office needs better policies. Let's see. Ramirez said the history and culture of Costilla County in the San Luis Valley is that it's used as a stepping stone. Teachers, emergency medical personnel, law enforcement get their beginning experience here and move on. I don't know how to ever solve that. Well, don't be a piece of shit that fucking sucks the criminals' dicks. Don't suck a criminal dick, motherfucker. If you hear about people that's doing drive-by shootings, Romero, maybe you should fucking do something about it, you piece of shit. You hear about fucking goddamn arsons, 12 fucking arsons, and you didn't do a fucking thing about it. Maybe that's the reason people don't fucking stay there. You act like it's a stepping stone. Maybe people do use it as a stepping stone, but I guarantee you, I mean, think about that. If you have a better, higher quality of life, if people are able to establish their homes and go to the park with their families and they don't have to worry about people burning shit down, doing drive-by fucking shootings and shit, they'll stay. So, because you've allowed a criminal fucking culture to happen, that's the reason why people are leaving. Fucking asshole. They have so many fucking excuses. But you know what? Fuck your excuses. Acknowledge that there's a problem and then solve the goddamn problem. Sanchez says, we're not here to challenge Ann's office in any way, in any form. Okay. He said all of his officers were current with their post-certification. Soto said officer turnover rate is high. The challenge of living in Costilla County and the salary are often cited as reasons why he can't fill positions. I'd be a great police officer. I'd be the best fucking police officer they've ever fucking seen, frankly. Some of the issues raised by Kelly happened with former employees, Soto said. Employees were asked about the missing firearms because they were in a closet, but I have no idea who the hell put them in there. They were taken by the evidence tech at the time, and then they acted like they didn't know what was up. Then they started this whole other case, and it was something where they had their hands in it, not us. Okay, how come you don't know where the fucking... here's the drugs and the guns. I'm just going to shove it into this closet here. All right, good enough for me. The public complaints about everyone, he says, not the sheriff's office. There's allegations about everything. I did take a little offense, and I'll tell you guys right now, every one of my employees will submit to a drug test. You have 4 deputies, okay? So that's not very... And then take them up on it. Take them up on it. You'll submit to a drug test? Good. Fucking do it. Because if you got pot, that's fine. I don't care a fuck about pot. I don't give a fuck if they drive around the county smoking pot all fucking day long. If you're smoking pot, that means you're hungry, happy, and sleepy. You're not aggressive and mean. You're chill. If you're driving around smoking pot, you're chill. So you're not just pushing people's buttons, trying to get a rise out of them so you can fuck people over. But I'm saying that it's legal now. Let's see if there's any other drugs that are in their systems. Sanchez agreed, telling the commissioners that he will back the drug testing. Soto said his office takes accusations of drug use and assistance to drug dealers with a grain of salt due to personality issues and grievances from past arrest. Yeah, right. If you're not on the side of the drug dealers and the gun runners, then where the fuck are the drugs? Where are the fucking guns? And at the best that you could say was, Sanchez and Soto is that they're negligent. They're allowing the gangsters and the Nazis and the Bloods and the Crips and the Trinde Aragua do whatever the hell that they want to do. They're letting the right-wing sovereigns, the fucking Nazi fucks, the fucking pedophile Nazis do whatever the hell they want to do. So is that negligence? Is that not enough resources? But say that it's you take it with a grain of salt. Okay, well, you shouldn't take it with a grain of salt, you motherfucker. You know shit's going down in your fucking county and you're not doing a damn thing about it. And then with the fucking goddamn planning and zoning, the commissioners double charge planning and zoning. So they're trying to bleed anybody that comes into the county. Oh, that's where you're going to get your money, huh? If somebody wants to build a house there, then you'll fucking take $5,000 from him for, some tiny little permit. Meanwhile, you got people that's moving into the county that don't pay a dime to the fucking permit process, and they don't do shit about it. So they could start to get consistent with your planning and zoning laws. If you're going to have planning and zoning, fucking take it serious. If you're not going to take it serious, get rid of your planning and zoning fucking office. Sitting there fucking over the lawful people that pay for their planning and zoning while you got fucking criminals doing whatever the fuck they want. That's so stupid. You're creating the goddamn criminal culture that you're pretending to be against. This is not a money issue. It's an issue of making sure that there are systems in place to get the work done. Yeah, systems. I'm all about institutions and systems. You got to have a good trash system. You got to have a good water system, good food system. You got to have a good evidence system. You got to have a good healthcare system, a good education system, good transportation system. Kelly said it was important for the commissioners to be aware of what was going on. On my end, I got an ethical duty to take action. I can't sit back and wait for things to change anymore. Let's see here. She talked about the different things that she could do. There was something about the Huerfano County Sheriff's Office. So Huerfano, they did some shit to, crack down on them bastards. She says she could take draconian action. So she knows the word draconian, which means the iron fist, the iron hammer. So she could drop the iron hammer down. She says she doesn't want to do that. She says it doesn't help the citizens. It doesn't help anyone here. It actually would help everybody. It would help everybody there. I don't know what you're talking about. She said that she's got to weigh her ethical obligations to prosecute cases fairly. She's having a hard time reconciling that with what she's seeing from the sheriff's office. She says she talked to the Senator Cleve Simpson and Representative Matt Martinez, and they're saying the same shit. They're saying the same shit about the fucking drug dealers and the guns and the drugs. Kelly says she's had a conversation with judges, including Amanda Hopkins. I'm not saying there's an easy solution, mostly because your sheriff is an elected position. That I don't understand why they even mentioned that part, to be honest with you. The sheriff has a degree of autonomy, but the commissioners are executive positions, so they could also make citizens arrest. So the commissioners could also do patrols, and they can make the arrest themselves. They also got the powers of the purse. So, because they sit on their asses with their thumbs up their ass and they say it's all the sheriff, it's all the sheriff, it's all the sheriff, then it makes it look like the sheriff is the king of the county, and if the king of the county isn't doing his damn job, then everybody notices it. But you actually got three kings, and the three kings are the commissioners, and the sheriff is more or less the bodyguard for the three kings. The sheriff is to implement the policies of the three kings. That's how the three branches work. The judicial system is just judgment. They don't have the purse or the sword, theoretically, according to Alexander Hamilton. Federalist 78. I'm not suggesting that. I just want you to know that some of the struggles, let's see, legally, officially. Sheriff's Office willing to engage. Let's see here. Colorado Association of Sheriffs. Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, the International Association of Police. I don't know what else to do. I really don't. She told the commissioners that she would be keeping them up to date on their next. There's only 4 deputies, so there is something you could do. Since the DA has investigators, you could hire 4 investigators out of Costilla County, and now the DA would have kind of 4 little junior cops. Not the sheriff's police, but you would have district attorney police that's in Costilla County. And then you could get them to be on the exact same page as you because you hired them, and so therefore they would be yours. And then she ends it off with, I pray for your county. So, there you go. That's a hell of a fucking article. I'm glad I reviewed it. I should take a look at the video, which I will later on. Yeah, I had so many hopes for Costilla County. God damn, I had so many hopes. Because I came from a place of child abuse, I wanted to build a house where there was no child abuse. And then I wanted a good community for my children. So I want to establish a family. I want to establish a career. My intentions of moving into Costilla County was to buy a piece of land and then to build my own house. I got tired of paying rent to some fucking unappreciative landlord. You work for a piece of shit boss to pay your piece of shit landlord, and you get fucking nowhere. At least, living out in the desert off grid, the money that you spend goes towards your house. It goes towards building your house. I had such high hopes. God, I had such high hopes for Costilla County. But if you look around, Costilla County, there's a lot of people. A lot of American dreams have died in Costilla County. A lot of people bought a little cheap piece of land thinking they could build a little house right there. And, maybe it was the elements. Maybe it was the fucking criminals. Maybe it was the police. Maybe it was the fucking Nazis. They got fucking Nazis. They got Confederate fucking Nazis out there that go around committing all the crimes that the right-wing sovereign movement is very active in Costilla County. So don't underestimate that bullshit either. So,